The vast emptiness of space had long been a frontier that humanity gazed upon with wonder. For centuries, Earth's scientists pointed their instruments to the stars, listening and watching. What they didn't tell the public was that they had been hearing things: conversations between worlds, trade agreements between species, and most concerning of all, reports of conquests. The Galactic Empire had been expanding for over 300 years. Like a wave of unstoppable force, it consumed planets and systems, incorporating their resources and people into its ever-growing domain. Earth had remained hidden, a blue dot too insignificant to notice. Until now. Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of the Dominion, the Empire's largest battleship. His gray skin had hardened with age, and his 6 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of a small solar system. Earth, he said, the word strange on his tongue. Primitive but resource-rich. The Emperor wants it brought into the fold without delay. His second-in-command nodded. Our reports suggest they have only basic space travel capabilities. No faster-than-light technology. No planetary defense systems of note. Krell smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then this will be simple. Prepare the fleet. Little did he know that Earth had been preparing too. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, the United Earth Defense Council gathered around a circular table. 12 men and women representing Earth's unified government stared at the projection before them. The Imperial fleet has changed course, said General Roberts, pointing to the red dots moving across the star map. They're heading directly for our solar system. Arrival estimated in 6 weeks. President Wei stood up. Then we must finish the defense grid now. Dr. Mason, what's your progress? Dr. Mason, a woman with tired eyes and messy hair, stepped forward. The shield technology works. We've successfully adapted the principles of Earth's magnetosphere into a planetary defense system. The Empire has nothing like it because no other known planet has Earth's unique magnetic field properties. Will it hold against their weapons? Asked the representative from Africa. Based on what we've intercepted from their communications, yes, Dr. Mason replied. Their energy weapons operate on principles our shields can counter. But we've never faced them directly. So, she let the sentence hang unfinished. President Wei nodded grimly. It's the best chance we have. The lunar base. Operational, General Roberts confirmed. The Mars outpost will be ready in 3 weeks. Jupiter station needs more time. Time we don't have, muttered someone. The room fell silent. Humanity had unified faster in the last 5 years than in all previous history, driven by the knowledge that they were not alone, and that what waited beyond their solar system was not friendly. We need to send them a message, said President Wei finally. We've been silent all this time, listening to their communications, learning their languages. They think they're coming to a primitive world that will surrender at the first sign of their technology. Dr. Mason smiled. Let's surprise them. 3 days later, Earth broadcast its first official message to the stars. It was sent on all frequencies the Empire was known to use, in perfect Imperial Common. The message was simple. To the approaching Galactic Empire fleet, this solar system is closed. No entry. On the bridge of the Dominion, Admiral Krell received the message with surprise, then amusement. They know we're coming, he said to his officers, and they think they can keep us out. His laughter echoed across the bridge. His communications officer looked uncertain. Sir, the message was sent in perfect Imperial Common. How could a primitive planet? They've been listening to our transmissions, Krell realized, his amusement fading. Clever little creatures. No matter. Send back our standard terms of surrender. The response was immediate. Terms rejected. This solar system is closed. No entry. Krell's eyes narrowed. For the first time, he felt a twinge of uncertainty. This would not be as simple as he had hoped. The Imperial scout ships arrived at the edge of the solar system 3 weeks later. 5 sleek vessels, each the size of Earth's largest aircraft carriers, dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Pluto's orbit. Their hulls gleamed with a metal unknown to Earth, absorbing rather than reflecting light. Captain James Miller stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, Earth's first true interstellar defense vessel. Though tiny compared to the Imperial ships, the Defender represented humanity's best technology, built in secret over the last 4 years. "They're scanning us," reported his sensor officer, a young woman whose fingers flew over the control panel. "Very thorough scans. They're probably laughing at our ship size." Miller's face remained calm, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped the command rail. "Let them laugh. Are the shields ready?" "Yes, sir. Operating at full capacity." "Good. Now we wait for them to make the first move." They didn't wait long. The largest scout ship broadcast a message that played through the Defender's communication system. "Primitive Earth vessel," came a deep, rumbling voice. "This is Captain Draz of the Imperial Scout Division. Your planet has been claimed by the Galactic Empire. Transmit your surrender protocols immediately and prepare for boarding. Resistance is not advised." Miller took a deep breath. Everything humanity had prepared for came down to this moment. "This is Captain James Miller of Earth Defense Ship Defender. We received your Empire's message. Our response remains unchanged. This solar system is closed. No entry." There was a pause, then laughter echoed through the speakers. "You have courage, Earth Captain. But courage without power is merely suicide. We scan only basic weapons on your vessel. Your technology is centuries behind ours." "Perhaps," Miller replied. "But we've been studying you for decades. We know more than you think." The Imperial scout ships moved forward, spreading out to surround the Defender. The smallest of them fired a warning shot, an energy beam that should have vaporized part of the Earth ship's hull. Instead, it disappeared into a shimmering blue field that momentarily became visible around the Defender. Silence filled the communication channel. "What is this?" Captain Drazd finally demanded. "Explain your defense technology." Miller allowed himself a small smile. "As I said, we've been studying you. Your turn." The scouts fired again, this time with all weapons. The Defender's shields held, the blue field rippling like water as it absorbed every shot. "Sir," Miller's weapons officer said quietly, "we have a firing solution." Miller nodded. "One shot. Make it count." The Defender fired a single pulse that struck the nearest scout ship. It didn't damage the hull, but all the scouts' lights flickered and died. The ship drifted, powerless. "A demonstration," Miller broadcast. "We could have fired 5 times. We chose restraint. Take your disabled ship and return to Admiral Krell. Tell him what happened here." The Imperial ships retreated, towing their disabled companion. As they disappeared into faster-than-light travel, cheers erupted on the Defender's bridge. But Miller didn't join in. "It's just beginning," he said. "They'll be back with the main fleet, and they won't underestimate us again." Back on Earth, Imperial broadcasts began flooding every communication channel. The propaganda was relentless. Promises of prosperity under Imperial rule, threats of destruction for resistance, images of other worlds that had fallen. In the Rocky Mountain facility, President Wei met again with the Defense Council. "The shield technology worked," Dr. Mason reported. "But the Imperial propaganda is affecting public morale. Some people are asking if resistance is worth it." General Roberts looked grim. "Admiral Krell commands a fleet of over 300 ships. The Defender stood against 5 scouts. The real test is coming." President Wei stood at the window, looking at the mountains outside. "Then we better be ready. How soon can we deploy the Jupiter station?" "With round-the-clock work, 10 days," someone answered. "Make it 7, Wei said. "Our time just ran out." Admiral Krell had never known failure. For 30 years, he had served the Empire with perfect loyalty and perfect results. 37 civilizations had fallen to his strategies. 37 worlds now flew the Imperial banner because of him. He stared at the report from his scout ships with growing rage. "Impossible," he muttered, reading the details again. A primitive planet cannot have shield technology that renders our weapons useless. His private quarters aboard the Dominion were sparse and functional, like the man himself. No decorations hung on the walls, no trophies from conquered worlds. Krell believed in utility above all else. A chime announced a visitor. "Enter," he commanded. His intelligence officer stepped in, carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, we've analyzed all available information on Earth's defenses. And it appears they have only one significant advantage: this shield technology. Otherwise, their weapons, ships, and infrastructure are indeed primitive by our standards. They have no colonies beyond their own moon, and a small outpost on their fourth planet." Krell's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his species. "One advantage may be enough if we cannot counter it. What do we know about these shields?" "They seem to absorb energy rather than deflect it. Our scientists are baffled by the principles involved. It appears linked to their planet's unusual magnetic field." Krell stood and walked to the viewport. The vast Imperial fleet stretched out before him, 300 ships of varying sizes, each a marvel of destruction. The pride of the Empire. "The Emperor is not pleased," he said quietly. He watched the recording of our scouts retreating. "The Empire does not retreat." The intelligence officer swallowed nervously. "The Emperor has increased your authority for this mission, Admiral. You are to use any means necessary." "Any means?" "Yes, sir, including the World Breaker." Krell turned sharply. The World Breaker was a weapon of last resort, capable of shattering a planet's crust. It had been used only once in Imperial history, against a rebellion that had spread across multiple systems. The Emperor would destroy such a resource-rich world. He believes that allowing Earth to successfully resist would encourage other worlds to follow suit. The example must be made. Krell nodded slowly. "Then we will make it. But first, we try conventional means. The shield technology must have limits. Prepare a strategy for overwhelming force." As the Imperial fleet accelerated toward Earth, a different scene unfolded in a laboratory beneath London. Dr. Lisa Rice hunched over a captured piece of Imperial technology, a communication device recovered from space debris left by the scout ships. Around her, a team of scientists worked frantically to understand the alien technology. "Look at this power source," she said to her colleague. "It's incredibly efficient, but the radiation signature is distinctive. I think we can track their ships by it, even when they try to hide." "More importantly," her colleague replied, "I think it's vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses tuned to this specific frequency." Lisa straightened, her tired eyes suddenly alert. "You mean we could disable their ships without even penetrating their hulls?" "Theoretically. We'd need to get close enough first." Lisa reached for the secure phone that connected directly to the Defense Council. "Get me General Roberts. We found something." As Earth's scientists raced to exploit the Imperial weaknesses, Admiral Krell gathered his ship commanders for a briefing. "Earth has one advantage: shields that can absorb our energy weapons," he told them. "But no defense is perfect. We will attack in waves, testing different weapon configurations. We will deploy kinetic impacts that cannot be absorbed by energy shields. We will surround their world and cut off their resources. And if necessary," he paused, looking at each commander, "we will demonstrate that resistance against the Empire leads only to extinction." The commanders nodded, confidence restored by Krell's certainty. "The primitive humans think they can stand against us," Krell concluded. "They will learn, as all others have learned, that the Empire always wins." What Krell didn't know was that Earth had already begun deploying defenses throughout the solar system, hidden in the shadows of moons and asteroids. And for the first time in his career, Admiral Krell was about to face an enemy who had studied him before he even knew they existed. The Imperial Armada arrived with the grandeur of a storm. 300 ships arranged in perfect formation filled Earth's skies with their massive shadows. From the ground, they looked like new constellations, dark stars that promised not light, but conquest. Admiral Krell stood at the command center of the Dominion, surveying the blue planet below. "Begin the standard approach," he ordered. "Surround their orbital defense grid and prepare for the first wave." The Imperial ships moved with precision, taking positions around Earth like a metal net. Their weapons systems powered up, creating a web of targeting lasers that crisscrossed the atmosphere. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, President Wei and the Defense Council watched the Imperial deployment on their screens. "They're following standard Imperial conquest protocol," General Roberts noted, "just as our intelligence predicted." President Wei nodded grimly. "Activate the shield network." Around the world, hidden facilities powered up. The technology that had protected the Defender now expanded to cover the entire planet. A shimmering blue field, barely visible except where the sunlight caught it, spread across the atmosphere. But Earth's defenses didn't stop there. Throughout the solar system, stealth platforms hidden on moons and asteroids came online. The shield network extended far beyond Earth itself, creating a defensive web throughout the inner solar system. Dr. Lisa Rice stood at her control station in London, monitoring the shield outputs. "Full coverage achieved," she reported through the global command link. "Shield strength at 98% and holding." The Empire made its first move. 50 ships fired their main weapons simultaneously, expecting to punch through Earth's atmosphere and destroy key military targets. Instead, the energy beams disappeared into the shield, which rippled like water but held firm. "Energy weapons ineffective," reported one of Krell's officers. "Shields absorbing all output." Krell's expression remained calm, but his inner eyelids flickered with irritation. "Deploy kinetic impactors." The Imperial ships launched physical projectiles, massive metal spears designed to pierce through energy shields by sheer momentum. These too were stopped, though the shields flared brighter at each impact point. "Sir," called Dr. Rice from her station, "shield strain at impact sites reaching 70%. Multiple impacts in the same location could create vulnerabilities." General Roberts immediately redirected reinforcement energy to the threatened areas. "They're testing us, looking for weak points." The battle settled into a rhythm. The Empire would try a new weapon or approach, and Earth's defenses would adapt. Hours stretched into days. Admiral Krell grew increasingly frustrated as each attack failed. "They cannot maintain these shields forever," he insisted to his commanders. "Every defense requires energy. We will drain their resources." What Krell didn't anticipate was Earth's counterattack. Captain James Miller led a fleet of 30 ships, small by Imperial standards, but each equipped with the electromagnetic pulse weapons Dr. Rice had developed. "Remember," Miller told his pilots, "we only get one shot before they adapt. Make it count." The Earth vessels, hidden until now behind Mars, suddenly accelerated toward the Imperial fleet's rear position. Before the Empire could respond, they fired targeted EMP bursts at the specific frequency that affected Imperial power systems. 20 Imperial ships went dark, their systems overloaded by the precisely tuned pulses. For the first time in the Empire's history, they had suffered significant casualties in a first engagement. On the Dominion, alarms blared as reports of disabled ships flooded in. "Impossible," one of Krell's officers whispered. "How did they know about the power core vulnerability?" Krell's face hardened. "They've been studying us longer than we thought. Reconfigure all power systems to resist their attack, and bring the options for breaking these shields." The siege of Earth had begun. While Imperial propaganda had always promised quick victories, what unfolded instead was the longest standoff in the Empire's history. Every day that Earth held out, the impossible became more possible, not just for humanity, but for every world watching from across the galaxy. Word spread across the Galactic Empire faster than Admiral Krell could contain it. A small blue planet called Earth was holding off the Empire's greatest fleet. In the 3 weeks since the siege began, Imperial censors worked overtime to suppress the news, but the truth leaked through unofficial channels. On the planet Tiller, once a proud independent world now serving as an Imperial mining colony, Workers gathered in secret to watch smuggled footage of Earth's defenses repelling Imperial attacks. Their overseer, a former diplomat named Varric, watched with them. "Is it true?" asked one worker. "Can they really win against the Empire?" Varric's 4 eyes blinked thoughtfully. "No one has ever held out this long. But winning? That would require more than defense." Across the galaxy, similar conversations occurred on dozens of subjugated worlds. Hope, that dangerous emotion the Empire worked so hard to crush, began to flicker again. In Earth orbit, Admiral Krell faced the most difficult decision of his career. The World-Breaker weapon remained armed but unused. Using it would destroy the planet and end the Resistance, but also eliminate the resources the Emperor coveted. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. They're requesting a diplomatic channel." Krell straightened his uniform. "Put it through." The holographic display showed a human male in formal attire. "Admiral Krell, I am Ambassador Thomas Gray of the United Earth Government. I request a face-to-face meeting to discuss terms." Krell's mouth twisted into what his species considered a smile. "So, Earth is finally ready to surrender." "Not surrender, Admiral. Negotiation between equals." Krell laughed. "You are not our equal. Your resistance is impressive but futile." Ambassador Gray remained calm. "Nevertheless, I believe a meeting would benefit both sides, unless you fear what the Emperor might think of you speaking with us." The implied challenge worked. Krell's pride wouldn't allow him to appear weak. "Very well. 1 meeting. You may board my ship with 2 assistants. You will be searched for weapons." "Agreed. We will arrive in 6 hours." When the communication ended, Krell turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare a reception that demonstrates our power. I want them to understand what they're facing." 6 hours later, Ambassador Gray and 2 aides boarded the Dominion. They were escorted through massive hallways designed to intimidate with their scale and technology. Krell waited in a command room filled with screens showing the Imperial fleet surrounding Earth. "Ambassador," Krell greeted, not rising from his elevated seat, "state your terms of surrender." Gray smiled politely. "Admiral, I'm not here to surrender. I'm here to offer the Empire a way to save face." Krell's inner eyelids flickered with surprise. "Explain." "You've spent 3 weeks trying to break our defenses without success. The longer this continues, the more it damages the Empire's reputation. We propose a simple solution. The Empire acknowledges Earth's independence and our solar system's sovereignty. In return, we don't share our shield technology with other worlds." Krell leaned forward. "You dare threaten the Empire?" "Not at all," Gray replied smoothly. "I'm simply pointing out reality. Oh, and you should know that we've already sent emissaries to several worlds in the Empire, just as diplomatic insurance." "Impossible," Krell growled. "No Earth ships have left this system. We sent them before you arrived, Admiral. They'd been traveling for months." For the first time, uncertainty crossed Krell's face. If Earth had shared its technology with other worlds, the Empire could face multiple fronts of resistance. "The Emperor will never agree to this," Krell said finally. "Perhaps not," Gray acknowledged. "But you're an intelligent being, Admiral. You understand that empires fall when they overextend. History teaches this lesson repeatedly." Krell stood abruptly. "This meeting is over. Return to your planet. You have 2 days to surrender unconditionally, or we will take more drastic measures." As Gray was escorted out, Krell received an urgent message from the Emperor himself. The transmission was brief but clear. "End the Earth situation immediately. Use any means necessary." Krell stared at the message for a long moment. For the first time in his career, he wondered if victory was worth the cost. But orders were orders. He began preparations for the final assault. Admiral Krell stood motionless at the command center of the Dominion, his decision made. After 4 weeks of failed attempts to break Earth's defenses, he would commit everything to one massive assault. "All ships, this is Admiral Krell. Prepare for Protocol Omega. Throughout the Imperial fleet, commanders acknowledged the order. Protocol Omega was rarely used. It meant committing every ship, every weapon, and every soldier to a simultaneous attack. There would be no reserve forces, no fallback positions. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, some of the ships report. Hesitation among their crews. Krell's eyes narrowed. Hesitation is treason. Remind them. On Earth, the Defense Council received the intelligence report with grim faces. They're repositioning for a full-scale attack, General Roberts said. All 300 remaining ships. They'll hit every point of our shield network simultaneously. President Wei looked at Dr. Reyes. Will the shields hold? Dr. Reyes frowned at her data. Not indefinitely. If they concentrate fire on specific points, they'll create breaches. We can redirect energy to those areas, but there are limits. Then we need to do more than defend, Captain Miller said from the video screen, his face determined. We need to strike back decisively. Dr. Reyes stepped forward. I've been working on something. A reverse pulse that could use their own weapon energy against them. We'd need to let them fire first, absorb the initial attack, then redirect it back through their own firing channels. That's incredibly risky, General Roberts objected. It's our best option, Dr. Reyes insisted. Their weapons are connected to their main power systems. If we can overload those connections. President Wei looked around the room at Earth's best minds and bravest defenders. Do it. Captain Miller, prepare your ships. In space, the Imperial fleet moved into position. Every weapon system powered up, creating a web of energy signatures around Earth that lit up military sensors like a deadly constellation. Admiral Krell gave a final address to his fleet. The Empire has stood for 1,000 years because we never accept defeat. Today we face an enemy that thinks it can defy us. We will show them, and all watching, what happens to those who resist. Fire on my command. The moment stretched as both sides prepared. On Earth, civilians watched the skies, some in bunkers, others in open fields, all aware that history pivoted on this day. Fire, Krell commanded. 300 Imperial ships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Energy beams, kinetic projectiles, and exotic particles struck Earth's shield network at precisely calculated points. The blue field visible around the planet flared brilliant white at impact points. In her London facility, Dr. Reyes watched energy levels spike dangerously. Shields at 97% capacity, 98%, 99%. On the command channel, voices reported shield breaches beginning to form. But Dr. Reyes didn't flinch. Now, she shouted. Around the planet, modified shield generators reversed their polarity. Instead of continuing to absorb the Imperial attack, they channeled the energy back through the same paths it had arrived on, directly into the Imperial weapon systems. On the Dominion, alarms blared as power surges ripped through the ship. What's happening? Krell demanded. They're redirecting our own energy back at us, an officer shouted over the noise. Power systems overloading throughout the fleet. As Imperial ships began losing power and weapons, Captain Miller led Earth's counterattack. 50 ships, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, emerged from behind Earth's moon. Each targeted the now vulnerable Imperial vessels with the electromagnetic pulse weapons that had proven effective before. Focus on their command ships, Miller ordered. Disable, don't destroy unless necessary. The battle shifted dramatically. Imperial ships, many with overloaded systems from the energy backflow, couldn't defend against the targeted Earth attacks. Dozens went dark, drifting powerless in space. On the Dominion, Krell watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet faltered. Redirect all power to weapons, he ordered. Continue the attack. But it was too late. The carefully coordinated assault had become chaos. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Krell faced not just resistance, but defeat. As the Dominion's own systems began to fail, Krell made one final decision. He activated the Worldbreaker, determined that if the Empire couldn't have Earth, no one would. The world-breaker weapon hummed to life aboard the Dominion, its power core glowing with ominous energy. Admiral Krell stood before the activation console, his 6 eyes fixed on the final authorization sequence. "Sir," his second-in-command whispered, "if you use this weapon, there will be nothing left to conquer." Krell's hand hovered over the console. The Empire does not lose. The Emperor's orders were clear. On Earth's command ships, sensors detected the power surge. "They're charging something massive," reported Miller's sensor officer. "Energy readings off the scale." Dr. Reyes, connected via emergency channel, analyzed the data. "It's a planet-killer weapon. We have minutes at most." Captain Miller made an instant decision. "All ships, focus fire on the Dominion. Everything we have." Earth's fleet converged on the Imperial flagship, unleashing electromagnetic pulses and the new energy reflection technology. The Dominion's shields flickered as they absorbed the first wave. Inside the Imperial flagship, systems failed in cascades. The Worldbreaker's charging sequence stuttered. "Weapon charge at 70% and failing," reported an Imperial officer. "We're losing power throughout the ship." Krell slammed his fist on the console. "Reroute all remaining power. The weapon must fire." As the battle for the Dominion raged, something unexpected happened across the Imperial fleet. 3 ships suddenly changed course and opened fire, not on Earth, but on other Imperial vessels. "Admiral," a communications officer called out, "Captain Draz and 2 other commanders have turned against us. They're claiming protection of Earth under some sovereign world's doctrine." The rebellion that Ambassador Gray had hinted at was no bluff. Earth's emissaries had indeed reached other worlds, and sympathetic Imperial officers had been waiting for the moment to act. The Dominion shuddered as its main power core failed. The Worldbreaker weapon went dark, its charge dissipating harmlessly. Admiral Krell stood in the dimming lights of his command center, facing the unthinkable: defeat. Captain Miller's voice came through on all frequencies. "Admiral Krell, your flagship is disabled, and your fleet is in disarray. Surrender now, and we guarantee the safety of your crews." Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than Imperial sensors could contain it. Earth had stood against the Empire, and won. On dozens of subjugated worlds, people gathered in public squares, their fear of Imperial reprisal outweighed by the hope that change was possible. 1 week later, Admiral Krell stood in Earth's Geneva headquarters as Ambassador Gray presented the terms of the Empire's withdrawal. "The Empire acknowledges Earth's independence and the sovereignty of its solar system," Gray read formally. "All Imperial forces will withdraw beyond the Kuiper Belt. Furthermore, the Empire agrees to recognize the newly formed Sovereign Worlds Alliance." Krell's face remained expressionless, but his inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among his species. "The Emperor will never accept this alliance." Gray smiled. "He already has, Admiral. While we've been negotiating, 17 worlds have declared their independence and joined the alliance, your own ship captains among them." The news struck Krell like a physical blow. "Impossible. Your empire is built on fear, Admiral. Once that fear is broken, what remains?" For the first time in his long military career, Krell faced a question he couldn't answer with force. 6 months later, a changed galaxy watched as representatives from 30 former Imperial worlds gathered on Earth to sign the Sovereign Worlds Charter. The document established principles of planetary self-determination and mutual defense against Imperial aggression. President Wei addressed the assembled delegates. What began with a simple message, "No entry," has become something greater. Today we declare not just Earth's independence, but a new principle: no world shall be forced to bow to Empire. Admiral Krell, now branded a traitor by the Emperor for signing the surrender document, watched from the back of the hall. He had chosen a different path in the end, sharing Imperial military secrets with the Alliance. "Was it worth it?" asked Captain Miller, who had found the former admiral alone on a balcony overlooking the celebration. Krell looked out at the night sky, where stars now represented possibility rather than conquest. "I commanded 37 conquests," he said quietly. "But I never built anything. Perhaps it's time someone did." As fireworks lit the sky above Geneva, celebrating the birth of the Alliance, Earth's message to the stars changed. No longer just no entry, but a new promise spreading across the galaxy. No empire,